So let's start. Good evening to all of you. I am Dr. Shoumi De, Assistant Professor of this Department of Anthropology, Haldia Government College. Being a part of this department, I welcome all of you to this international webinar. Today's webinar is on the topic of autism and anthropology. In the field of anthropology of disability, autism does not get adequate attention by the scholars, particularly in India. Of course, it is really a questionable matter whether autism is disability uh, or it is different. However, this webinar may provide a kaleidoscopic view on the autism research. Today, we have two renowned resource persons with us, Professor Dr. Topon Ardia from New York University Medical School and Dr. Arup Ratan Bandopadhyay from University of Calcutta. He is my teacher also. It has been really a great opportunity to all of us for having these two eminent scholars with us today. I would like to highlight about today's participants. We have received total 1076 registration, and participants are from different states all over India. We have also participants from Bangladesh, Nepal, Oman, Canada, etc. Uh, in India, majority of the participants are from West Bengal, but a huge number of participants are also from Assam, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Chhattisgarh, and so on. These participants are from different educational background. Among them, many are students, research scholars, and professors of different colleges and universities. So the topic of today's webinar has really attracted the attention of so many academicians. We have really grateful to all of you for being with us. One thing I must say that in last 10 minutes of each session, we will get the opportunity to ask questions to the speakers because interactive session is always enjoyable. So participants, you can ask your question in chat box, but please do not unmute yourselves and please turn off your camera during the webinar. Our department is very happy to organize this webinar and also thankful to our officer in charge, Dr. Piyush Kanti Tripathi, and the IQAC coordinator, Dr. Dipankar Sadhukhao, for their support and encouragement. Now I request our officer in charge to inaugurate the webinar and say something for today. Sir, please. Our officer in charge has already joined. Sir, please say something.
Madam, I have joined. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sir, madam, have you started the webinar?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have
Please
already.
say something.
Okay. So,
Please inaugurate the session, sir.
yeah. Good evening to all. It is really a very. I feel proud that Department of Anthropology has organized this international webinar on autism and anthropology and interdisciplinary approach. So, at the outset, I congratulate all the members of the department, particularly the convener of this international webinar. I congratulate Dr. Dipankar Sadhukhao, the coordinator of IQAC of our college, for his wholehearted assistance. And I also congratulate to all the technical members who have helped to organize this seminar, who very smoothly, run the seminars very smoothly. I also again extend my thanks and congratulations to all the faculty members of the anthropology department. So on the outset, I feel it is my great privilege and feel honored to welcome Professor Dr. Topon Audia, New York University Medical School, as a resource person. We are really fortunate to listen his lecture in this webinar and sharing his experiences. Despite of his busy schedule, he is really kind to give us consent to deliver a lecture by spending his valuable time. We are very much indebted to him. I, on behalf of the college and also personally on behalf of me, extend my heartfelt congratulations to him, sir. I welcome you to this webinar, sir. I also feel proud to welcome another resource person, respected Professor Dr. Arup Ratan Bandyopadhyay of the University of Calcutta, for giving his kind consent to interact with us by sharing his knowledge and experiences. I extend my heartfelt thanks and congratulations to Professor Bandyopadhyay, and I also welcome you, sir, again to this 2 days international webinar. I welcome all the participants of this 2 days international webinar and hope they will be enjoying the lectures and will be academically enriched by sharing their, listening the views and sharing their experiences of the resource person. So initially when I found the topic of the international webinar, I was astonished that autism, I think, is a very separate area of the discipline, of a separate discipline, scientific discipline of the psychology. But how anthropology dealt with this? But later on, I thought that there is a relevance. So in this program, I just cannot restrain myself that my experience that when I was the student of MET, I had the opportunity to interact with the autistic children at Monovikas Kendra, Kolkata. When I was preparing a project report on MET, on exceptional children. So I had the opportunity to visit them, and I found that certain symptoms, that is symptoms like the problem social interaction, problems with communication, and some children who are very severely affected, they showed very aggressive behavior, and I was astonished at how the people should deal with them. And at present, this autism, psychological people, medical people, they are dealing with these different areas or different aspects of the autism related problems. And simultaneously, I think that to improve the lives of the individuals with autism by providing education, research, and support to the members of the family, that is also very much important. So today, I also, I am expecting, and I also hope that today's international webinar obviously show us some lights or some ways that we can deal with the autistic children, the problem of the autism. And this is also a new area, that how anthropology also dealing with the autism as an interdisciplinary approach. So by with this, I also again welcome to all of the resource persons and participants to this seminar, and I welcome again to all of you to this international webinar. I extend my heartfelt thanks and congratulations to all of you. Now I am hand over to microphone to the convener. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Dipankar Shaduha.
Okay. On behalf of the IQAC Haldia Government College, a very good evening and warm welcome to all the participants joining today's international webinar on autism and anthropology, an interdisciplinary approach organized by Department of Anthropology in collaboration with IQAC Haldia Government College. Also, a hearty welcome for today's resource person, respected Professor Tapon Ardho New York University Medical School, and Associate Professor Arup Ratan Bandyopadhyay from University of Calcutta. Actually, I really feel proud to welcome such eminent professor for today's topic. Present day, all of us need to know about autism for the better future of our coming generation. So I would like to thank convener for today's webinar, Dr. Soumi De, for considering this important topic, along with the other organizing member from Anthropology Department, Dr. Bhuban Mohan Das, Mr. Pinaki De Mollik, Dr. Mohan Chandra Dholoi, and Dr. Solil Kumar Datta. Also, I thank our officer in charge, Dr. Piyush Kanti Tripathi, for his continuous inspiration and support. Of course, Mr. Tanmoy Kumar Maiti, Assistant Professor, Department of Statistics, for his technical support. Finally, thank you all, and let's start the main session of this webinar. Okay, over to Somi.
Thank you, Dipankar Shaduko. Now I'd like to call our HOD, head of the department, Dr. Bhuban Mohan Das, to say something. Dr. Bhuban Mohan Das.
Hello, is it audible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Day. Hello, good evening, everybody. On behalf of Department of Anthropology, Haldia Government College, I, Dr. Bhuban Mohan Das, welcome you all in today's international webinar titled Autism and Anthropology and Interdisciplinary Approach. We, the member of this organizing committee, are facing really happy to be the host in this webinar, not only because this is the first time that our department is hosting a seminar in virtual platform, but also because we get such eminent scholars and teachers as speakers. I also want to share with you the fact that since long time we are planning to organize a seminar in our department, but ultimately it happens in such a way that we have more than thousands participants, not only from different states of India, but also from abroad. I feel this huge response definitely motivates us to host more webinar or seminar in future with different interesting topics of anthropology. Well, I know that these listeners are waiting rejoicingly to hear our resource person, Professor Topon Adhoye sir and Professor Arup Ratan Bandyopadhyay sir, so I won't make your waiting time long and handed over this virtual dais to Dr. Somide, my colleague and the convener of this webinar. She will introduce you the speakers. Thank you. Somi, please.
Thank you, Dr. Das. Uh, Today, our first speaker is Dr. Topon Ardia. He is a professor of biochemistry and endocrinology, New York University Medical School, New York. Professor Ardia has completed his bachelor degree from University of Calcutta, then master degree in biostatistics from Indian Statistical Institute. He obtained PhD degree from London University in organic chemistry, and then he again achieved PhD degree from Dalhousie University, Canada, on the topic of bioorganic chemistry. He served pharmaceutical industries research and development for 12 years. Um, there, Thereafter, he joined New York University Medical School as a professor, and he is working there for last 22 years. He has many publications, near about 197 papers in referred in international journals and 11 book chapters. He achieved several awards in his career, like Hoffman Award for Development of New Drug, Quilliam Award for Excellence of Research in Bioorganic Chemistry, and so on. Today, he will deliver lecture on the topic of nutritional intervention in autism spectrum disorder. I request Dr. Adia to deliver his lecture today. Thank you. Dr. Adia?
Yeah.
Please unmute.
Hello. Yes,
Yeah.
and then I'll go to present now.
Welcome, sir.
Okay. something is not working here.
Show me, am I audible? Show me.
Yes.
So you just pin on the speaker. Talk on pin. You just pin on. Just make a click on
Sorry.
him on your right side. Meeting details. People 26. You find him.
I cannot hear you. Okay, just 1 second. Let me see.
But sir, you are audible and visible.
Right. It's doing fine. And, oh,
Yeah, yes, your slides are visible, sir.
okay, thank you. Now I have to see that. Can you now see everything?
Yes.
What
Can you go for the slideshow mode, sir? Slideshow mode.
slideshow mode? Which one is that? Uh,
Just press F5 mode. F5 key. F5 key.
and I don't see that on my. Uh, yeah, but that thing, some reason or other, is blocked by some. Okay, okay. Now I got it. And this, okay. Can you see my slide now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Um, Good evening, everybody from uh, here, and I'd like to thank Dr. Day and your department for organizing this meeting. And I'm very humbled that you contacted me to give a presentation of the first seminar you're having. What I have decided that I will start with the very basic theme of the autism and also give you some information about the nutritional aspect of it, the how can you make their life better, and not completely okay, but it will be a lot better. And but there is a starting point, and I will talk about that. And last but not least is the important thing is that how to follow the nutritional aspect. Is that's the most important one, and it depends on which part of the cohort you are. That means if you are in a Bengal, there may be a certain pollution, yeah, compared to the another part of the India and South India or Delhi. The pollution level of different types are different, so that can be adjusted with these supplements. And the what I will do, I will touch on three different supplements today because we don't have too much time to go over every one of them. But the all these three are the most important one, and then we can start maybe at another time with few others. Now, what I did, these slides are meant to be for average population who has no knowledge or no information about the autism and the disability from the autism. So it is really a basic information. Some of you may already know what it is, and some of them you don't know anything of this. So I just made a middle ground so that you can understand exactly what we are going to talk about. And at the end of the talk, oh, by the way, we have more than 50 slides in this presentation, but I will only show you the one and skip the ones which is not very essential because we don't have enough time. So at a later time, if you want to, if you have any extra question, you can always send me an email, and Dr. Day has my email address, so you can communicate with me through email. Thank you. With that introduction, let me start my talk. This is about the nutritional supplement of the autistic children, and what are the things we are going to do. This is the outline of, I will touch on vitamins and minerals and amino acids and essential fatty acids. Uh, as I told you, there are many other things which we are not going to talk today. They are also equally important, and but we can cover some other time. And you can also follow in my publications. There are many of them. I started to do research on the autism from 2002, and at that time, there's hardly anything known about the autistic children and what is the deficient, what is the cause, and all kinds of stuff. And so it is a very uh, long, prolonged research effect. And also, it's very difficult to get the patient because no mother or father would like to introduce their autistic child to us to take their blood, to give them the supplements we want to give them. So some of them don't want to do that. There's also some problem with the vegetarian and non-vegetarian type of situation, and that also I had to go through, and we found some alternative way for that. And so let me, that's the outline. Now, now the basic nutritions, what are the things we need? We need water, carbohydrate as fuel, vitamin and minerals, amino acid from protein, and essential vitamin. The deficiency of any of these results in disease or even death in extreme cases. So we are not talking of the extreme case here, but in many cases we found there was some problem, and I will go over that. You will see this is a nutritional deficiency. For example, if you have a low level of vitamin C, you have a scurvy disease. If you have a lack of iron, then your anemia, mental retardation in the children is very, very, we saw in many, many children with deficiency of iron. And unfortunately, to introduce the iron to the children, they don't absorb very well. So I will also talk about that. And lack of calcium and vitamin D, which cause rickets. Particularly vitamin D is the most essential. And I will tell you, any level of vitamin D in the blood less than 40 nanogram per ml is not useful. So you have to have at that level, and you have to give vitamin D. Fortunately, it absorbs very well, so you can give that without any, it has no toxicity at all. So you can continue using it. The children with autism are not classically deficient, but they are generally low in most essential vitamins and minerals, omega-3 fatty acid, and some amino acid. So there is a book on that, Children with Starving Brains by my colleague McCandless, and you will see that if you get hold of that book, and you'll see that really what is going on in this situation with the autism. Now, before I start the next slide, I should tell you that in the 2002, there was a 5 types of autism. Okay, the people are classifying it 5 types of autism, and they are known as autistic children or regressive autism. Then you have Asperger's. Then you had childhood disintegrative defect. Then pervasive developmental defect. Then Rett syndrome disorder. Now, some of them are dependent on the gene, and some people predict that 23% of these all autistic children have genetic defect, that a gene is altered, and some of them say and go as extreme as 80% the gene altered. There's a paper published in Sweden recently that they found 80% of the autistic children have a defective gene. Now, we didn't find that. And of course, I understand why it is so different, because every country has a different level of pollution, different level of nutrition, different level of people who can take good food or bad food. All these things are depending on all these, because the mother has a poor diet. Obviously, you cannot expect a very healthy child. And so that is one thing to consider. And second thing is, at the moment, we have only three levels, level 1, 2, and 3. So I am going to talk mainly on regressive autism, which is level 1. It's a regressive autism where you can do some things, and even though they have a defective gene, you can still help them with these essential nutrients. Okay. Now, why do I consider vitamin and mineral supplements for people with autism? Before our work started, nobody even thought about it, that where is the problem. So what did we do? That we went to the mothers or the parents of these children and asked them to give us some blood samples to see what is wrong in the blood sample. And we measured all the vitamins, all the minerals, and all the fatty acids, amino acid. I mean, we measured thousands of these samples. And we found out the majority of these kids have this problem. And so the deficiency are common in general population, because a lot of people don't take good fresh food and vegetables, and often restricted diet, like a picky eaters, limited vitamin, mineral intake, and then poor digestion. 25% have chronic diarrhea, 25% has a chronic constipation. Endoscopies by Dr. Wakefield, Dr. Tim Bowie, Higgsman were all good friend of mine, and so damage in the gut, and which is limiting the absorption of the nutrition. That is one of the key things, damage in the gut. And we found out not only one way, several ways we found out how there is a damage, uh, particularly in the ileum level. Then Rosner saw overgrowth of harmful bacteria in the GI tract. That is another major issue, because sometimes you will see their foul smell of the stool, and they're all coming from GI infection from the harmful bacteria, which they cannot get rid of. So we have to find a way to get rid of that. And not the always antibiotic, although antibiotics do help. And if it is a yeast overgrowth, then one type of antibiotics has to be used. It is a bacterial gram-negative or gram-positive bacteria. There's another type of supplement to be used. So these are very important part of curing or getting life better, because they have to absorb the nutrient before they can have some effect. So, and if you give randomly without knowing anything, then these children are not simply absorbing the thing which you are giving. And 21 study with us since then, and have shown the vitamin B6 and magnesium deficiency. And at that time, when we started it, we did a detailed study on vitamin B6, and I will go over that a little more detail. And one study showed that C was beneficial in autism. So vitamin C, because it is immunologically effective, it has a lot of antioxidants effect, so it has been beneficial by the one study. And Dr. Maguson from I think Virginia showed that the cod liver oil, which is high level of vitamin A, D, and essential fatty acid, and helped with gaze and aversion and behavior. That means if they cannot focus to the person whom they are talking to or communicating with, and that when you have a efficient, I mean, is an extreme deficiency of A and D, you have a problem with that. So we have to look into that, the essential fatty acid, I'll talk over that very quickly. And Dr. Rimland, who actually started all these with us, he's a guy who paid all the money and of his own money and then started with the also research. And he shows the vitamin, and he had a son who was autistic, and by vitamin and minerals, how it helped his son. Okay. Now, these are the level of autism we saw, and we did 187 autistic children, and we challenged with that with the control of 84 control of the similar age group. We found out that before the supplement, if we look at uh, the percentage of below normal, is 66% below normal of the vitamin. After giving vitamin B1, and that is also very important because some kids cannot absorb vitamin B1. You have to give them fat soluble vitamin B1, and then you with the I think this was about 6 month studies, and so it dropped. It actually 30% then still was deficient. So we did some improvement with vitamin B1 by giving this to the children, and also there's a behavioral important improvement. I will talk to you about that. Then there is a B2, the same thing, then B3 and B5. Every single one was very deficient. 40% of the kids were deficient. Uh, and But now you see pretty much close to the 10%. So it is not that bad information. And then we started B6, B12 it is extremely important for B12 for many reasons. It has an effect on the methylation of DNA, and if the DNA is not methylated, it doesn't make new protein. So so that is extremely important. B6, you know, yeah, it actually necessary for almost more than 60 different enzymes in the body, and they are highly deficient on that. One reason I will show you why they are deficient. Then folic acid, then biotin, then inositol, all of them, they are after supplement had been addressed, and their their efficacy, the parents' information, how they are behaving, that is the most important part, how they are behaving after taking the supplements at 6 months. And we found out that they are not all extremely positive, but many of them are very positive. I would say about 40 to 50% within 6 months showed a very positive improvement. Then same thing, biopterin, carnitine, that is very important because some of the autistic children are having a problem with epilepsy, this faint sometimes. And that is because their carnitine level is 50% of them have a low carnitine. Now, after giving carnitine for 6 months, it didn't improve all that much, statistically at least. And those who improved, but not significantly. But when we give N-acetyl carnitine mixed with other thing with it, we found is a dramatic improvement. At least almost 60 to 70% of the children was improved, and and also low level of epilepsy was found. Lipoic acid, which is necessary for many things other than TCA cycle, carbohydrate metabolism, and choline. And the choline is very important in the brain. And most children have a high the choline because they sometimes have they convert acetylcholine to break down to choline. So it's very important to see the choline level in the blood and the brain are reasonably high, and 70% of them are high. Okay, then the next one showed that nutrient level, vitamin A, then beta carotene, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E. So you see everything is low, and with these autistic children. And by giving that, we found in 6 months they improved. And we didn't see improvement. We didn't assess that in the beginning. And But the parents, as we took the word from the parents that they say, "Oh, my son is doing much better," or "My daughter is doing better." By the way, I forgot to mention the brain of the autistic children, particularly regressive autism, that uh, was born when they are having a slightly larger, about 6% larger brain size. And over a period of year, it is actually boys. Over the period of year, they actually adjust to the same brain sizes. And but this quick development from in 1 year, from the age 2 to 3 perhaps, that causes some problem in the brain in the men and the boys. In the girls, we didn't see any inflammation in the brain or the size of the brain. Okay. Uh, anyway, so the RBC zinc, red blood cell, we look inside the cell. The zinc level is very low, and magnesium low, and selenium, which is very important for many children, and that's also you can see almost like it's 60 to 70% are low. So all these information tells you that in autistic children, if they start treatment around the age of 2 to 3, or even at the maximum 4, you can really help them in from the disability. And a lot of these children now, I'm pretty proud to say that they're now going to regular school system. They're doing math very well. They're doing their language very well. So these are very important factors. Then why they are low? The endoscopy study, which I just mentioned before, damaged the gut, and then terminal ileum, where the nutrients are absorbed. So the gut is damaged, they cannot absorb it, so we have to repair the gut first, and inflammation of the gut can cause low level of vitamins. Okay, vitamin B and magnesium. Now, 20 studies, including 11 double-blind, placebo-controlled studies, that means we have always normal, found that high dose of vitamin B6, and I gave the value 8 milligram per pound, with magnesium. Is it okay? Uh, There's a sound coming.
Now it's okay, sir.
Okay, all right. With magnesium 3 to 4 milligram per pound body weight, resulting in a wide range of behavioral improvement. There are 20 studies on that, and you can see if you Google it, vitamin B6 and magnesium, you'll also find me and many other people in there. No negative study shows that they have few or uh, and that they had no improvement. And large study found 1 to 2% chance of temporary loss of feeling in the fingertip when you give a large dose of vitamin B6, which is about something like a 400 milligram per kid, and every day, sometime twice a day, and with food and without food. You have to one time give with food, another time without food. If you give that, then there is a slight temporary loss of feeling in the numbness in the fingertips. It's called peripheral neuropathy. But problem ceased when doses are stopped, okay, or reduced. Overall safe, helps 50% of the children and adults. Okay, multivitamin studies we did. 3 month study. This was we didn't do this 3 month study. This was a brainchild nutritional did. Double blind, placebo controlled. Doses is slowly increased to a maximum over the 2 months, then held constant. Parent ratings of changes, and parents rate the changes. Small study, 20 children. So in a number of children to get involved in that is not very significant, because the parents are not very willing to go through that, because it is a torture. Because when you introduce a new product and also want to take their blood, and they get horrified, and my heart bleeds almost when you take. In fact, I try to get away from the room where they take their blood, because they cry and everything, all kind of stuff. Okay, the next slide, this is nothing to do with autism. We wanted to brief you that we all have a problem, a normal or otherwise. Particularly, uh, two of them here is the vitamin B12, which is this line, and pyridoxal 5-phosphate, which is a active vitamin B6, which is this one, and acetylcholine in the brain, which is this one. As we grow older and older, you see, from age 24 to all the way of 96, we see the level of this thing goes way down. And that could be many reasons. And the one reason is absorption. Two reasons, we don't take care of ourselves very well at the older age, or nobody helps you in doing that, or remind you to take the vitamins and everything, because some people don't have any faith in it. So that causes this problem. So we have problem with these level of vitamin as you grow older. But autistic children around this level were in all of them, because they are their level is around here. In autistic children, they start very low. So why is that? Now the reason is that if we look at if you give them vitamin B6, uh, they are pyridoxal kinase, which converts B6 to pyridoxal 5-phosphate to active B6. That kinase activity is, in autistic children, are extremely low. And if you keep on giving the higher and higher dose of vitamin B6, all the way to 21 milligram per kilogram, you actually reach the level of normal. And compared to that, in normal control children, you see their value is already very high, at 2.5 milligram vitamin B6 per kilogram. And then if you see for elderly patient where the vitamin B6 are low, which their age between 67 to 80, and you say even they, when they are deficient, at 7 milligram per kilogram already reach high level. But autistic children don't reach that level of pyridoxal kinase uh, until they get about this high. So you need a high dose of vitamin B6. That's very, very important. Now, let me go through the overall result. Now, these are called ATIC score, but I will not go into that. It will take a long time to understand. There is with supplement, you see the changes, sociability, expression language, reactive language, that when you talk and they answer you, eye contact, general behavior, sleep, gastrointestinal study, overall, the 5.1, these are ATIC score, but these are information taken from the parents, which is a very significant, statistical for 0.005 result significance. So we found that these supplements help you a lot uh, from without giving it versus giving it within the same age level. So all this category, you have to think that after you get to testosterone, they do improve if you keep at it for at least 6 months. You'll see a significant difference. Then 5-point scale, the children said, like a 1% said much it didn't help at all, and whereas 1%, I'm sorry, 1% said it didn't help at all. Some said 2% told they became worse, and we found out why they became worse, and we corrected it, and then became all right. Then slightly better. Then you can see same. There is no change. Then slightly better, and then much better. So we found overall almost 45% of the children got much better according to their parents' evaluation. These are ATEC scale. I can explain you some other time, and if you want to know, You can go over the Google, so what ATEX score is. It will take a little bit of time to do that. New vitamin, we did another study with my graduate student, with others, and we did a 16-week double-blind placebo-controlled study. We have to do a lot of study to convince people and the government to pay us some money. And 50 children with autism, with 30 controls, pre-post measurement of vitamins, mineral, fatty acid, amino acid, and organic acid, extensive measurement of vitamin B6 in plasma, RBC, and urine. We did all this funded by these groups of people. So it costs a lot of money with 50 plus 30, 80 kids to do that and give them the supplement at no charge, so that they provided us money for that. Okay, vitamin B12 is one of the most important one for the methylation for DNA synthesis, DNA to make protein, and many of them have low level of, and if you give them methyl form, which is the active form of B12, that will help a lot. And uh, vitamin B is very hard to absorb orally. It is, they cannot absorb very well. But the Dr. Newbrander, a good friend of mine, he's in New Jersey. He started giving them 70% of the children do improve it dramatically, autistic children, and at a dose of 75 microgram per kilogram body weight, twice a week for 6 weeks. Okay, after 6 weeks. So you see that these things do affect, and these doctors study them, and the parents also come and show you how to what they are doing almost routinely. So it did help us to come up with the conclusion that vitamin methyl B12, which is the active form of vitamin B12, do help them. And another professor did shows that it is needed to produce glutathione, which is a very, very important thing. And so if you don't have glutathione, you cannot detoxify all the toxins in your body. But that is one of the most important ingredients of glutathione. It is a 3 amino acid peptide, tripeptide, and it improves. You can give glutathione sublingually or injectably, but the orally it doesn't work because it's a peptide. It goes and breaks down in the liver. Okay, then we also found, myself and Jill, we found they're extremely low on sulfur amino acid in cysteine and glutathione, and treatment study of 800 microgram folinic acid, and this one is extremely important, 1000 microgram folinic acid, and TMG is trimethylglycine, that high level of glycine. It actually improves the level and detoxify the kids from the toxins from their body, and their improvement is, many toxins are among, one of the major toxins in the body is the mercury and arsenic, and a lot of children have that. And if you Google it in the toxin study of autism, about 3 of the papers I published, you will see how many children we did that and what we got out of that. Now, can you tell me how much time I have left? Hello? Okay. Uh, then, of course, you
10
need.
minutes more.
Sorry?
10 minutes more.
10 minutes. Okay. So there you need the iodine, and that is also very important. And a lot of 45% are lower in iodine. Then you see the iodine, what do they do, and how do they supplement. And there is one thing about lithium. The most of the mother of the children have a very low level of lithium, and you have to give them the lithium carbonate, uh, low dose of that, and they can recover when during the early stage of pregnancy. Absolutely essential. Then let me continue that. The summary tells me most of them are low vitamin B6 and choline, but needed for B6 for possibly children, more choline, then B6 magnesium. They're all improved. This shows you TMG, methyl B12. So this lithium for the mother is most important as well as children. Don't worry about it. I will not. Okay. Then go next one. This is the most vital slide. This we gave this to the autistic children, and about 40 to 45% of the children had a good effect on that. And you can get, if you want, I can send you the copy of that if you want to use it, or you can ask the doctor. She can provide you on that. And then amino acid is another one, is very low, and that is very essential, particularly methionine, taurine, and few other like glycine are extremely important. And because they cannot take some gluten and casein, so that is an important part of it. So recommendation is that, yeah, you take the plasma and 24-hour urine. If deficiency, then customize the supplement or broad spectrum amino acid supplement. Digestive enzymes also helps. Then there is another important aspect which I will touch on, is that sulfur. The sulfate level is very low. This study I did about 2009 or 2010, and we found the urine, it is 29% low, elevated level in sulfate. In the total sulfate is 44. Sorry. So, and then consisted the Rosemary Waring did it about 10 years ago, and we found the best way to give the sulfate to the children. Almost every children I saw, one level or other is low, but particularly low with autistic children, and give them Epsom salt bath. So you put in a bucket of water with some Epsom salt and quarter cup of bicarbonate in it, and soak their feet into it for about half an hour, 3 times a week, and you will see a massive improvement on the sulfate level. So you have to have a high level of sulfate. You cannot drain out sulfate the way they do. And sulfate, you can see the control is 1.8, and autistic children, look at the free sulfate. And total sulfate is in this level, and the and then autistic children has, look at what is the difference from 1400 to 3000 level to 94 to 300, and glutathione level of course is very low in them. The reasons they are that we have so much toxins in the one of the toxin is PCB, but many other toxins. I have 16 of them we studied. When they have a high level of toxin, depending on the level of this organophosphate, you see the sulfate level goes down. So sulfate goes down because of the organophosphate and many other toxins, for example, hexane, gasoline, xylene, whole lot of things you have the problem with that. So I already mentioned that what we did, and we started sulfur nutrient, but we found mostly the bicarbonate is effective. Then effect of sulfate, you just mentioned therapeutically we can give, and it will help you gut. That is the most important thing, helping the gut. And that will eventually becomes very effective in absorbing food. Then, of course, the last one is the fatty acids. We give fatty acid as we did a study on that. We found omega-3 fatty acid and omega that is DHA and EPA. And this has one group of company and another group of companies supplied us that. And we use that within 8 weeks, 2 to 4 capsules a week. And then we got 81 children we started with. And we found out that we actually duplicated some of the study in France and by Gordon Bell, very, very early study he did in the 1950s. And So essential fatty acid, term essential because they cannot manufacture in the body, so you have to give them. Now fatty acid spoil much faster than omega-3 commercial processor, hydrogenate them, and American diet system has a ratio very low. So now people have more omega-6 versus omega-3, and it is omega-3 you need. And don't worry about this fat oil from the fish oil. You can take flaxseed oil and number of other oils for almond oil, or there are many other nuts. You can give them by powder them and give them. That will also have fatty acids. And uh, its source is low, so you can give a lot of different omega-3 and omega DHA. The same thing, importance of DHA is most critical for the children to grow their brain in the early life. So, and they are drastically short in that. So, is reduce the inflammation, gut, GI tract in autism, and DHA in development of the brain. So, both are very critical. So, you have to give them, and if you want, you can email me or ask Dr. We can provide you that information. What are the food as a highest amount? So these are the omega-3 deficiency, impairment of vision, sticky petless, tingling out the leg, learning disability, motor incoordination, high blood pressure, mental retardation, and immune dysfunction. And omega-6, I don't want to go through that. This is the most important one. And high level cause all kinds of problems. So and treatment has been done with a lot of schizophrenic patients. I particularly do a lot of treatment with the depression and bipolar, as well as ADHD, and they really help fish oil. And so it's not necessary. So sociability score, we improve the ethics score. So don't worry about that. I can tell you, take my word, and then I can actually see the real raw data that both DHA and EPA has effective on the is effective on the children with autism. And this is just to tell you how the eicosapentaenoic acid, EPA, and docosahexaenoic acid comes. It comes from the fatty acid which is rich in fish, flaxseed oils, almond, and number of other vegetables has these. And so you can give those, and then it converts into that. High linoleic acid, which we get in fried food, and mostly from the food from in this country from McDonald's type of store, and they make arachidonic acid, which is very toxic, and they make a lot of painful product out of that. So you have to be very careful about giving lot less, like a flaxseed and the most important one you have to do is that give as little as possible to omega-6 fatty acid, particularly the peanut oil or the canola oil. Okay, and then we did some study again, and this keeps on going over and over again, and then we found out that this is a 9 to 11 month study, and that also saw a tremendous efficacy. And when you give EPA, the control value, we started with 106 autistic children. Now we see how much it has improved. Docosahexaenoic acid from there, and then we got the autistic children is this is normal, and see how much it improved. Gamma linolenic acid also went up. So arachidonic acid, on the other hand, 171 to going down to 139. We didn't improve all that much. From autistic children, usually have around 250 to 300. It went down to 139. So giving these 7 to 17 years old kid, we did this. We have done this treatment again with the children from 4 to 9 years. We found very similar result. This thing have been published in several journal. Okay, so values of normalized control. So EPA low to high, everything has gone up, which is just a. Okay. Then what are the symptoms if we improve with the fatty acid? Abnormal bowel movement, 80% improvement. Sleep, 60% improvement. Hyper-irritability, 35%. Limited eye contact, 40% improvement. Social withdrawal, 30% improvement. Short attention span, 20%. Repetitive movements, 35% improvement. And, and speech recreation, significant improvement. Now, speech, vitamin B12 and speech, methyl B12 rather, speech is very important for improvement of speech. Okay, so B6, these are the slides, tells you the gastrointestinal function, sociability, sleeping pattern. Sulfate is repetitive behavior pattern, hyperactivity, expressive language, and the gastrointestinal syndrome. And fatty acid improve all these. So uh, these are the summary of that. All the tests we did was correct one. So the conclusion is that most autistic are low level of fatty acids, and their omega-3 can be improved, and calcium helps the absorption. So you don't have to give a lot of calcium, but you have to give some calcium to improve the condition. And last one slide is a read this book. That will give you a lot of thing how to improve the brain. I have several chapters in many papers. You can read that, but this is the most comprehensive book. And so they showed all these studies, and the balanced diet of vegetable, fruits, and protein. All the vegetables you want to eat, and the child, not you, the child and the mother of the expecting child. We can also provide you that information in later time, and in most cases and proven to be benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful deliberation,
Thank you.
and which has really enriched us. Now I request Dr. Bhuvan Mohan Das to take over the question answer session.
Thank you, sir, for your excellent presentation. The chat box in YouTube is overflowing with the congratulatory messages like nice presentation, sir, excellent analysis, very fruitful presentation, very informative, valuable information like this. And if you permit me, I would like to present a few questions for clarification to you, sir.
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
First one, Anushree Chatterjee, how can we understand if the child is autistic? Is there certain behavioral pattern to understand this?
Oh yeah. First thing is see the eye contact. That is the most the primary one, eye contact, and foul smell in the fecal matter. Those are the two things you have to see. And also, if they cry all the time, and that is very hard to stop crying. The reason is that they're getting awful pain from the stomach inflammation. So those three things are very good things. The eye contact will tell you he's not contacting the eye or smiling. When you're smiling, baby is not smiling. So those are the things you have to watch. And I certainly found when they bring the child around 1 year old to me, I can easily find out what kind of autism it is. Is it a regressive autism or Asperger autism or any other kind of, or level 1, 2, or 3? I can tell you right from 1 to 2 years old kid, but it requires a lot of experience. But for the mother, those are the three is vital.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next one from Anushree Chatterjee. Sir, what will be the diet pattern of an economically underprivileged autistic child whose parents have least idea about the special care they need?
Okay. The most effective and also inexpensive way of doing it is that you get the most fresh food and vegetables. You don't need for a child too much of that. Like, for example, if you take, say, a mango, for example, it has a lot of nutrients in it. in India, there are a lot of vegetables. I can mention tomatoes, and uh, there are some cod liver oil is not that expensive in India. So those are the things if you give them, and also most important one, once in a while you just take some chicken, or if they are non-vegetarian, take some chicken, boil it for about uh, half an hour, okay, and then strain it and take that water, which you are boiling it, and you can keep it for in the refrigerator for 3-4 days, and every day you give an ounce or 2 ounces of chicken water extract, and then that will provide you a lot of amino acids. But vitamins is absolutely essential, which comes from the fresh fruit and vegetables. But you need to give them some supplements at a minimal expensive level. There are many organizations in the United States. If you contact them, and I know the Autism Center of India, and I went. They invited me in New Delhi and in Madras, and they have a center there. And at that time, the director was Dr. Aurora, and she said that there are very poor people who cannot afford it, and they are raising funds both from the public sector as well as the private sector, and they can provide food or the money to provide that. So you can go to Autism Center. There are 4 centers, and in 1915, sorry, 2015, and I'm still, I think still they have had about. I went to Calcutta. They had a center there too, and so you can contact them, and there will be another source where you can get that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next one comes from Paramita Das. Sir, autistic children are sensitive to certain texture of food. Is it
Right.
one of the cause of deficiency of the vitamins and minerals in them?
Yes, vitamin, the iron, particularly iron, lithium, another minerals you're low in, and then essential the DHA, which is essential docosahexaenoic acid. One of the things comes from the fish oil or flaxseed oil or primrose oil. These are the things you can get at a very inexpensive. I went last time I went to a store in, I think they were Ayurvedic store in College Street area, and they had. I saw that they have that material there. Yes, and infection in India is very easily. Gut infection can go. Is a neem extract, but it's very hard to give the children the neem extract because the neem leaf, you just make an extract of that. And all you do, take the fresh leaves and soak it in warm water, and when it is uh, like a 15-20 minutes later, you can give a little bit or mix with something else. Don't give sugar, but there are many other things like fruit juice. Particularly, I prefer if it's available very ripe mango or ripe oranges, you can add. That will help.
Thank you, sir. Next one comes from Ilma. Sir, and smart in studies. Is it true?
Sorry, can you repeat it, please?
Can you hear me?
Sir, here now.
Okay, thank you.
No, I cannot hear anything.
That some autism persons are. Sir, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Sir?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
I can. Yeah.
Now, I heard that some autism persons are brilliant and smart in studies. Is it true?
Oh, it is. They got a high efficiency autistic. We have children. I made a show of in a lecture about 8 of them. I brought them over there. They're all autistic children, but they are very high efficiency. They're piano player. There's a guitar player. They are really good, and mathematically they are extremely bright. I've seen some, they can, like age around 9, but they can do math even much higher level of that. And so, yes, oh yeah, there are many of them I have met. And even in India, I actually met in Delhi, one little boy came to sing a song in a funerals. I didn't understand the song, but the piano he was playing on is just unbelievable.
Sir, next one. Okay, sir. So next one comes from Ranodip Das. Is there a specific treatment for autism?
A deficit what? Sorry?
Sir, is there a specific treatment for autism?
Oh, yeah, yeah, there is a deficit treatment of autism. Yeah, and so I describe you three of them. There is about, uh, just like a chair has 4 legs, the nutritional treatment is one leg. There are behavioral study, there are exercise level, there are many other treatment there. But I believe me, once you get rid of the toxins from the body, they are already 50% ahead of time.
Sir, next one comes from Obishikta Ghosh Rai. Sir, can you elaborate about the genetic predisposition of autism and how other factors influence those predisposition in the lifetime?
Okay, there are certain genetic disposition, about I say 30% of them, which you can manage by giving different supplements. For example, we give to increase the methylation level to these children. And for example, one of the major genetic disposition is uh, MHTFR, methyl hydrotetrafolate reductase. That is, many kids have that problem and genetically. But you can give supplement in such a way that if the gene is mutated not in the active region of the transfer region of the protein, but of the gene, but still you can manage with those children. We have treated many of them, and they do not as good as the other kids, but they do fairly well actually. But if you start very early, you can do much better.
Okay, uh, there are so many questions and congratulatory messages, but I can take only one, and this would be the last one from Biswarup De. Sir, I would like to know, is there any side effect have been found in the studied subject, though they were give so many types of food supplements in regular manner?
Oh, yeah. You have to be very careful. For example, you have to see how the child takes it. Now, you start with a regimen and we see if the child is not behaving right or reacting against it, or after giving the medication, his immune system goes down or rashes in the body. You have to reduce the dose. And those are very important. That dose, and if you see no effect, you can increase the dose. And the second thing is that the once you start giving them like boiled water, which get rid of a lot of nonsense salt, and also they all should take in India not the tap water. Either it is a bottled water or water which is boiled for 15 to 20 minutes, then strained and kept it in that condition for and give only that water. And so there are many things you can do. And the side effect we see with only vitamin B6 with a numb thumb finger ends, that goes away after as soon as you reduce the dose, that goes away. Now, vitamin B12 uh, causes some hyperactivity, methyl B12. Now, it starts with hyperactivity, but if you reduce the dose and then still continue, you'll see gradually over a period of 3 months, the hyperactivity goes away.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for your informative and thought-provoking speech as well as explanation for my questions of the participants. Now, this virtual dash, I'm handed over to Professor Day. Show me, please.
Thank you, Bhuvandam. Thank you, Dr. Dash. And thank you very much once again, Dr. Adi. Um,
You're very welcome. If you have any other question, if you receive any of them, yeah, you can send me those questions to me. I'll be able to help you. And it was a pleasure talking to you. And good luck to all the parents of the autistic children. And anytime I can or our institution can help you anyway, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye. Our next speaker is Dr. Arup Ratan Bandyopadhyay. He is a professor of anthropology, University of Calcutta. Professor Bandyopadhyay has completed his bachelor degree and master degree from Calcutta, University of Calcutta with esteemed national scholarship, Government of India. He has obtained MPhil degree in environmental science and thereafter awarded JRF and obtained PhD degree in anthropology from University of Calcutta. He got several awards in his career, such as prestigious Merit Award, Young Scientist Award for his contribution in human genetics, then Outstanding Scientist Award, second International Scientist Award on Engineering, Science and Medicine, Visa Award, etc. Professor Bandyopadhyay has uh, published more than 100 anthropological research papers in national and international journals. Professor Bandyopadhyay was a member of Program Committee World Congress on Breast Cancer, Gynecology and Women Health, Bangkok, September 6 to 7, 2018, and the International Conference on Gynecology, Obstetrics and Reproductive Medicine, Bangkok, January 2018. He has delivered many lectures in different national and international platform. Recently, he has done an outstanding research on COVID-19 and epidemiological and post-genetic appraisal. Today, we have Dr. Bandyopadhyay with us. So, sir, I request you to deliver your lecture. So, please.
Thank you so much, Shomi, and most of the people like Dr. Bhuvan Mohandas, all of my students are there. So it's a really pleasure to speak before the students always. And also, my point is this: I'm trying to present my screen, but before that, I would like to go for some. Just a moment. Just tell me whether you can see that. Okay. Just a moment. These are the problems in the virtual platform. It's all right. So did I show?
Yes, sir. Sir, can you hear me? Yeah. Yes, I'm trying to contact ARB, sir. There is some problem, sir. Is no, hello? Sir is out of network coverage area. So yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm continuously trying to contact with him. Continuously trying. We should wait for a few minutes. Yeah, Sarah's joined.
I'm sorry, this is the problem. So nobody don't want to go back. Uh, Nobody wants to go back. But the thing is, this is the problem of this whole things. So I feel that now I am visible and audible. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me just present. So I'd like to share my slides. Just a moment. I'm sorry for that because it's always going on with this network problems and other. Um, just wait. Yes. Yes. The screen. It's all right. All right. You
Now it's okay.
can
Perfectly okay.
see
No, your voice
slide
is breaking, so
right now. Who was supporting me? Saurabh was supporting me.
sir, now you are audible. Sir has left the meeting again. Participants, please wait for a few minutes. Yeah, Sarah's joined again.
What is happening, Somi? I'm so sorry that I'm making your time so spoil. I'm
No
so
problem,
sorry.
sir, no problem.
So I'm just going on again presenting my slide. I do not know what is happening right now. So I'm trying again. Okay, okay, okay. Just a moment. Thank you, Shorab. Thank you. You are really that tech savvy. I'm not really. This is with me. Whenever I give the actually the home not so much on what I get in the department thing. Oh God, it's so slow. I am audible now.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. So I do not know why Shomi is getting me out from this particular. So I'm just putting my video off. So that is the best thing. So my video is not very much necessary. So let me present my slides. Now anybody can tell me it's all right. Shomi is there.
Yes, sir.
Shomi is
Yes,
there.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So
Hmm.
after a long time trying on, so I'm just I was really why a student of anthropology dare to speak in this autism, because just an introductory remark I'd like to talk about, because the anthropology is the main goal for anthropology for the variation and the evolution. So a lot of things Dr. Addo has said. So I try to make myself in comprehension that the evolutions and the variations of the autism, if we think autism is not a normal thing or whatever, because this, I have given this one as a soap opera, in case of the TV serial. So it's Aapke Antara, and what is given, I have already told, that does not behave like a normal child. So what is that normal child? That is, in case of anthropology, normal. What we say, what is the prevalence is the normal. So the prevalence and the more frequency, we say their prevalence. So they are some away of child. Whether this away of the child is really the problem with our society. So I'm going with this one because I'm speaking from Department of Anthropology. I know a lot of people are there from Department of Anthropology. I'm just going to just an introductory remark why anthropology may be very much important to talk about the anthropology. I'm talking about the autism, because the anthropology, Indian anthropology, let's start in the beginning. It started with the administrative purpose because of the European officers and citizen commissioners to know about what we are really and the whole populations, because of the fact that to get the taxes, the lagans and the taxes, the people try to understand what are the different tribes and castes are in our India. But with this one, institutionalized of the anthropology started in 1920-21 by Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee, the first full-time Indian Vice Chancellor. Now, we should be proud about it that we are celebrating the centenary years of Indian anthropology, and we're the first department in India as well as in South Asia. So what does this actually people has done? That systematic study of the different population groups, tribes, castes started adopting their very important techniques, the field work. So that is very much important to us. Now, as a matter of fact, I said about the tribe caste, but we are talking about the whole population, not the tribes and castes. So we are taking, it's not that autism is only there in the tribes or it is only in the caste population, but the autism can happen to any of the population. So I try to unfold this particular thing in course of my lecture. So still now the fieldwork is important and used in the anthropological research. So what happened with this data? So that is the point why I'm talking from the point of autism, that the synthesis and the critical analysis and the facts, that is a database, what we got, the interpretation of the data derived out from the field study, utilizing the experience and expertise from the other discipline, for example, the archaeology, biology, statistics, and the allied fields. So what we got from here? So we got results at a glance that just a moment, I feel that I lost my connection again. No. So are you there? So whether
Yes,
my
sir,
slides is moving?
Yeah.
My slides are moving?
Actually, yes, sir.
Okay, so
Everything is fine. Perfectly
okay, fine.
alright.
Okay, fine. So results at a glance, what we got: extent of human diversity, range of diversity in a particular ethnic group. I said the ethnic group, but for this particular lecture, I'm not talking about the ethnic group. I'm just going for the total human group and the commonness of the traits. So from this, the interpretation that we can have, most likely the uniqueness of the traits to identify the particular group. Now, outlier traits, that is the most important. Who are the outliers? Outliers means I'm talking about who are not in prevalence. So the outliers are very much important. And genetics of a common traits. I'm not talking about the only genetics. If we think that we can go for different kind of cultures and of common traits. So culture can be there for the common traits. There are lots of common cultural traits and genetics of the outliers. So these outliers are what I started with Aapke Antara. It's not a normal. So the outlier traits. So that why they are outliers. So that is called medical genetics. And if it is a disorder, so how we call the disorder? Because it comes up from the point which is from the order to the disorder. That is not in the order. So the disorder on the basis of what that you are getting more prevalent. So this can be a disorder. So the structure and functional studies, and then we try to understand the structure and what being the functions over there. So now the cross-cultural misidentifications of the autisms in other indicative of the differential prevalence of the autism. Just I'm going for some kind of examples. In Korea, autism is often purposefully misdiagnosed as a reactive attachment disorder. And now what I say that purposefully, whether that is undiagnosed or we don't want for an undiagnosed one, And my point is this: undiagnosed or would like to go for hide this one. Hide means that what we do here. Uh, it's all right. Show me. It's going on. It's going on. Or I have been stuck again.
No, sir, it's absolutely all right.
Okay, just give me courage, right? Show me. Just give me
Okay,
courage.
sir.
I do not know whether my slides are going on or not. I do not know. All right.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
the
sir.
yes, it's the undiagnosed or hide. So sometimes what happens that we do not want to diagnose this one and also hide what is happening right now in case of the COVID-19 situation. If somebody is affected by the COVID, so there are lots of problems. So the people try to hide it so that we cannot get the actual prevalence and the frequency. That is a problem again for getting documentation of that. So in Korea it was that. And then if we come to Africa, so it's possession of the evil entry. So this was the point of identification. And also furthermore in Navajo communities, it is a perpetual children. Perpetual children means the people think over and again. So within some point of time that the child will get birth. So this is perpetual children, and again miscalculated an epidemiological census of the autisms. And in South Africa, this is again a bad person, they may alter the epidemiological record of autism. Now, what happened to India? So in Indian scenarios, the individual with autistic symptom are called feral children or the children raised by the wild animals. So this is a very interesting picture, it's called Mungli. So we have already gone through with this kind of pictures, this children is raised by the wild animals, which is very difficult to be sure how many cases of the feral children are cases of autism. So this is again a kind of misidentification, so whatever it is. Now, so thus the actual number of cases is simply unknown, requires some epidemiological surveillance measures as a used by the Center for the Disease Control and Prevention to establish the prevalence of autism spectrum disorder, where the anthropology can make some important contribution. So I was just going through some kind of chat boxes. Somebody asked that what is the prevalence of the autism. So I'll come back to that particular point because this is very much important for epidemiological surveillance measurements. So the history of autism. So this is very much important. So it was started in 1979. 1799, Dr. Gaspard worked with a feral boy, Victor of everyone, and described the symptoms of autism for the first time. And then it is 1911, and then 1943, and also Dr. Hans Asperger, Austrian psychiatrist, published a research paper on autistic psychopathy in childhood, and also finally the English psychiatrist introduced the term Asperger syndrome. Now, what we get from here, extreme autistic aloneness. So Dr. Adde has already mentioned about this kind of intervention, and this intervention, some kind of drugs can improve this one. And what is written that extreme autistic aloneness, delayed echolalia. So delayed echolalia means you can understand whenever the boy or girl born, they try to make echo whatever they listen. So it's a repeated one they try, but in case of autism, it might be one of the reasons that one can diagnose the autism, that delayed echolalia, that it's delayed, repeating the facts, repeating the sounds, it is delayed. So anxiously observed desire for the maintenance of someone, sameness, lives in their own world, that I have already mentioned in case of Avtara's own world. Perhaps we all the normal, what we believe ourselves as a normal, we also try to live in our own world sometimes. We feel disturbed if somebody just make us disturbance. So whether they are really abnormal, so we try to unfold this one, whether these autisms are really abnormal. So these are called neurodevelopmental disease. So there are some kind of neurodevelopmental disorders, and also often intelligent and somewhat extraordinary memory. That I have already Dr. Adder said that really they are intelligent and they can play the pianos. He said about the pianos. It's really unbelievable. They can do some kind of thing. So there are Asperger definition of autism, one much more inclusive than the others, encompassing both the children with the profound challenges and those who are seen only in the slightly affected. So Asperger conceptualized as autism is a personality disorder. So he specially emphasizes the great value of autistic individual can have for the society and plead for giving these children a special education and the guidance they need to realize their full potential. So we will try to understand what they have the special ability in case of the autism first. So this is a neurodevelopment disorder. So this is really an interesting. A child brain is not a miniature replica of an adult brain. That we cannot think of that a child in a miniature replica that then a child is born like an adult and having that 2 hands, 2 legs, everything, 5 fingers in a normal condition. But the brain, actually what happens subject to the endless modification and connections. Why? Because there are lots of socializations and also the peer groups. You know, the peer groups are giving lots of ideas. So that can make a change of this one. So this is again this abnormal brain development, that is neurodevelopment disorder. But it is written in the text that is abnormal. But I would like to say this is not abnormal. Can we say it's altered brain development? It's not abnormal, which is normal, which is abnormal, we really do not know. But we can say this is altered brain development, which was we thought, but it was not done. So it's a neurodevelopment disorder, and depending upon time, when these abnormalities or damage occur during pregnancy, yes, it can happen in pregnancy, it can happen in the prenatal period, such as at infancy and childhood, and the impact will vary. Definitely, that's why this is very much important and interesting in anthropology, because it impact will vary. So wherever there is variation, there is importance in anthropology, and we really like to go for that. So they start with this neurological development with the motor and tic disorder. So tic disorder is an abrupt, uncontrollable movement or sound that deviates from a personal normal gesture. So again, I said a personal normal gesture, whether some of us having some kind of gesture, for example, somebody bites the nails. Okay, we think this is normal, or whether this is really normal, bites the nails. No. So many people doesn't bite the nails. So this is again a kind of tic disorder. So this is a abrupt, uncontrollable, when this is uncontrollable. And then we are coming to intellectual disabilities and specific learning disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. These are called autistic spectrum syndrome, ASD. And for this particular era, this becomes so much important in this particular era, because why, I'll tell you. When we go for epidemiological understanding, we'll find that autism is increasing. So this is, and this is most important medical disorders, and I am very much thankful to Haldia College right now that they have taken this issue of the autism right at this moment, and which is very important in our society, in other society, in every society is important. So types of pervasive development. Pervasive means which is not normal. There are lots of terminology has been given. So it's an umbrella term. So you can understand autistic disorder is also a kind of pervasive disorder under the term of autism. And then what happened, that autism is a complex, highly heritable. So somebody asked that whether this is heritable or not. Genetics is there. Yes. Anything, any character has some kind of genetics except the trauma. So it's a very less genetics, very least genetics, but the genetic is there. And the heterogeneous neurodevelopment condition, again I said heterogeneous, that's not a homogeneous. First 3 years of postnatal life. So that is the most important thing to have a kind of diagnosis. So I'll talk about this kind of diagnosis and also something about the prognosis, and often is evident much earlier. Now, my point is this: the characterized by triad of impairment. So what is triad? Triad means 3. So let us see that what happened in the next slide. I'll be talking about the triad of impairment. Summarize the difficulties, but actual manifestation can vary in different individuals. It's not mutually, it's all mutually exclusive. Not that you can take just only one. There is no single cause or cure of autism. Etiology remains largely unexplained. So that's why in the top I said, if it is a single cause, then it is a curative. Then that is in medical. So you can give some medicines, so that is curative. But if there is number of causes, so there are number of etiologies, so only thing you can go for the preventive, that can be done from the biomedical aspect, which is biology and the medical both, because the biology is very much important, having structure and function. So whenever we have number of causes, that again the variation comes up. So both the genetic and environmental factors are known to contribute the risk of autism spectrum disorder. So we'll try to understand this one in course of time. But I'll try to explain this one. So there will be much more questions on that. So I feel so I'll be very much happy to have those questions later on. Now, these are the triad of impairment. So first is impaired social imagination. Next is impaired social communication. Then the impaired social interaction. So these are most important thing: impaired social imagination, the how the society is there. Society is introduced to a child by the socialization. Now they have their own world. So impaired social imaginations, how they imagine the whole society. Impaired social communication, if they cannot imagine, how do they communicate? So that is again a point of understanding. Again, impaired social interaction. Now the point is this: so if they do not have social imagination, how they will go for social interaction? So social interaction will be there. So if you can, I can, other can, does mean that what we think we are normal. So why, how we can make the interaction, that is the most important issue right now. So what will happen here, that it's just a kind of summarization. If we go for measured intelligence, so intellectual disability is there, but they are gifted somehow. I'll tell you why they are gifted. So social interaction, not interested in others. They do not like the relationship. Like autistic childs do not like the any kind of variety of friends, and the relation might be we also don't like this person, we also don't like that person. It's also to us whether all of you we have some kind of autistic kind of phenomenon, because it's not that we also a variety of friendships are there. So communication, so non-verbal most, they using words correctly to communicate, they cannot, so non-verbal. So for that particular reason, I will tell you, because Dr. Ardo has already said about it, they are non-verbal behaviors. So repetitive behaviors, I said this is very much unusual behaviors. They always make a repetitive behavior. Who has worked with the autism management, so you know that they make some kind of repetitive behavior. But the thing is this, we also, what we claim ourselves as a normal person, we also have some kind of repetitive behavior. For example, when I speak in English, somebody said, you know, you know, you know. So again, this is a kind of repetitive behavior. So whether we are also autistic somehow, actually, this is again a kind of question. So sensory, so response to touch, smell, sound, taste, and feel. So not very much sensitive to the pain, and sounds very much sensitive. If there is a small sound, they are very much sensitive. Now what is happening? They are very much sensitive to the sound, so they can listen a very small sound. So definitely it's a gifted that we ignore, but they do not ignore that one. So motor is gross motor, such as walking, fine motor, such as using finger to grasp the small items. So this is uncoordinated. And the gross, and as a gross, this is not very much coordinated with this motor, with this fingers, with using the fingers and others. Now the autism are triad of impairment. So individual with autism have differential eyesight spatial ability. So what is that spatial ability? Strong visual abilities. That is very much important. Where is going on? What is going on? So they have very strong visual abilities. Attention to the minute details. What is going on? Amazing memory. Yes, autism has amazing memory. That already Dr. Addo said about amazing memory. Unusual interests to everything. Other common traits such as honesty, gentleness, perfectionism, exceedingly refreshing, always exceedingly refreshing, that we are not unexpected in this increasingly cynical world. So I am very, very much happy when I was just preparing this one. I have met some of the autistic child, just and to, I mean, not frequently, but I have met with some autistic child, and I'm really amazed with them. So that is unexpected. So they are so honest, so naive and gentle, so unexpected in this cynical world. So now etiology of autism. So there are many factors. So there is gene, there is environment. So what is that gene? Because must be gene, because abnormal neuron development, again I said that's abnormal, or I say altered neuron development, neurotransmitter, mitochondrial dysfunctions, oxidative stress, immunodysregulations, and neuro inflammation. So that's are very much important to identify the autistic patients. Autistic individual, I should not say patients, because I do not think they are patients, but they are autistic individuals. So structure and function changes of the brain, behavior and abnormalities, also it's called autism spectrum disorder. So there are genetic factors, many genetic factors are there, because I started with lots of etiologies are there. It's not that if you can have only one noble gene, you can find out for autism. This is not really. We can just cure the autism and other kind of things. So it's abnormality in the brain. About 15% of the autism can be attributed directly to the genetic factor. And all who are viewing this one amazed to see that there is a potential that is coming from the chromosome number 15 to chromosome number 2, rearrangement, presence of susceptibility of the locus, alternation of RELN protein, made genes. And so lot of people has done a lot of work on that. So what are the different kind of genetic concomitants to come up for the autisms? So there are also environments. So what are the environment factors? So research said the environmental factors comes up greater than 35 years of parental age, disturbed pregnancy, labor complication, fetal distress, low birth weight, preterm birth, neonatal jaundice. So why this is an environmental factor? Because in our society, we have some kind of this environmental factors, because of the fact that this is cultural transition, higher age of marriage. So we have the higher age of marriage because we have we are taking education, we want to have a kind of economic independence. So the cultural transition, higher age of marriage, disturbed pregnancy, we know about the domestic violences. So this is disturbed pregnancy, labor complications. So still now in India, there are lots of non-institutional delivery. So there might be the labor complication, fetal distress, prenatal care of the mother is very much important, because I said the low birth weight of the mother is very much important for any kind of disease, any kind of long-term disorder to the child. It's not only a case of the autism, but it's all kind of disorders. If low birth weight, mother's birth weight is very low. So the low birth weight babies are coming from the low birth weight mother. So that is again a point. And also the neonatal jaundice, and what we find with our research, there are blood group incompatibility for the neonatal jaundice. Now, as a matter of fact, why this is? Because this brain having a term which is used by the psychiatric people is known as amygdala, the theory of the brain. So this is represent a core fear system in the human body, which is involved with the expression of the conditioned fear. The fear is measured by the changes in autonomic increase in the heart rate, increase in the blood pressure, as well as in simple reflexes such as flinching or blinking activities including. So in case of autism, what we find, that's a kind of blinking and flinching activity. They cannot having a kind of close contact with the other person. So might be this is for the amygdala. So in the next slide, I will talk about these things from where the brain, from which part of the brain this particular amygdala theory of the brain has come. So this is really, if you go to the right side, you will find this amygdala come from the cortex, and this is really the point that I can go for understanding. So this particular focal point is very much important if it is go for electroencephalogram. So if there is a focal point, so there is maybe a chance of the person may have some autism or some kind of things. Now, however, the dysfunction of the single structure, what I said, neural circuit, amygdala can influence the other areas of the circuit. And what we say, this is called pleiotropic effect. So one change can make a lot of change. People about the beta thalassemia. So one change in the small change, beta chain of the hemoglobin can change the whole situation, like the skeletal development and everything. It's happened in the genetics, so that there is also, why not, in the brain development, the pleiotropic effect. So several theories have been proposed to account for this atypical pattern of socio-emotional behavior. What is that? Is theory of mind, socio-emotional theory, socio-motivation theory, fast-track modulator model. So a lot of people are trying to understand about the autistic mind. So that is most important. But all these proposals are compatible with the core deficit of so-called social brain. So what is that social brain? So what we think about the social brain, they will be like us, then we will say the social brain. If something away, we do not say this is a social brain. So this is the amygdala is the key component. So I'm just unwinding this kind of question. So whether we think this, we are the normal, they are not the normal. So again, the questions of anthropology comes up that the others view, insiders views and other kind of things. So that's why I said this autism is so much interesting to me. Whether we think the autistics are not us. So let us think about this one and go for this one. So there is no one type of autism. So that's why the interest in anthropology. So there are no two cases of autism are alike, and the ranges of severity from mild to severe, some being significantly mentally impaired. So again, this is very much interesting subject. I'll tell you that in case of the anthropology, that no two cases are similar. Some autistic children may have ability to speak, whereas some other may not. Intolerant to physical touch, whereas other may intolerant to loud noises. So these are really interesting that in one group of people, they have different kind of things. So we are not really to find out what is the extent of variability in case of the autistic. So that's why this is very much interesting in anthropology. So what we find that children can move from one end to the spectrum to the intensive evidence. So for example, severe to one person go for the mild and from moderate to the mild and test behaviors. And as a matter of fact, if we think that if we can make a prognosis or a kind of early diagnosis, so one person from the severe autism can go for to the mild on the basis of management. So there are lots of autism management schools and other kind of things. So maybe they are able to do that severe to mild and severe to moderate and moderate to mild. So that is really interesting. How do you understand those people? Then one can go with this one. So evolution of autism, childhood schizophrenia, it was started with the term with the childhood schizophrenia. Now it is comes up as a spectrum condition. So I am coming to some a kind of past history. So it was started with the DSM. 2 in 1952 defined autism as psychiatric condition, a form of childhood schizophrenia. And then in 1950s, this was very interesting. It was that autism child can rooted from the cold and unemotional mother, and it was known as refrigerated mother. And this refrigerated mother concept was disproved in 1960s and 70s. So again, this is again the people thought this is only the mother. This is again a kind of what I say that it's a kind of gender difference that people try to understand. All the fault from the mother. Anyway, so this DSM-3 published in 1980 established autism is a own separate diagnosis, so pervasive development disorder, so PDD, distinct from the schizophrenia. So it was totally distinct from the schizophrenia. And then DSM-3 revised in 1987 again, pervasive development disorder not otherwise specified, so PDD-NOS. And finally, DSM-3 did not use the term spectrum, that is, autism is not a single condition. So DSM-5 released in 1994 and revised in 2000 categorize autism as a spectrum. And finally, what we find that is DSM-5 in 2013, that is a PDD according to DSM-4. So it comes up DSM-5. So who are working right now in the autism are following DSM-5. And still you can understand diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorder. So when there is a statistical manual, what does it mean? That you have a lot of variation. Then why you are going for statistical? Because if it is only diagnostic, you don't need any kind of statistical. So when there is statistical, so you are really expecting some kind of variation that you can analyze through descriptive statistics and finally for inferential statistics. So you have some kind of variables. So that is the most important point that I would like to again emphasize in case of the autism. So analytical polarization of autism. Now, diverse theories, I have talked about lots of things, diverse theories. So autism tends to cluster around or move between the two analytical poles. So one pole being the biomedical perspective, and another pole is social cultural perspective. So I started with my talk with the biomedical and the social cultural perspective. So just a moment, just a moment. I'm sorry, I have lost. Okay. So the focus of on the autism, prevalence of genetics, heterogeneity, and the development trajectories, that is the biomedical perspective, and social cultural perspective is analysis of social interaction, narrative accounts, cognitive potentiality of those affected by the autism. So both things are very much important to us to study the autism. So biomedical and social cultural perspectives, if you go for, it can have lot of scopes in anthropology, in epidemiology, in genetics, neuroscience, psychology, disability studies, occupational science, education, and the philosophy. So that there are enormous scope, but I have taken top in anthropology, not only for the alphabet, but I think being a student of anthropology is topmost to study the autism. Now, the first person, it was a neurologist, Oliver Sacks, who first linked anthropology, why they had things so. In 1995, the name of the book is An Anthropologist on the Mars. So he studied with some two twins. One name was John and one was Michael. They are really talk to each other or exchange their conversational conversation with the prime numbers. That is very much interesting. So if you want, I have seen the video of this in the YouTube of this particular two twins, and it was so interesting. They can remember, if you ask them that the June 1990, 19 June 1990, which day it will be there, they immediately tell to this particular thing. I was really amazed when I was seeing the video that is available in the YouTube, so one can go there. So they have been separated for their own good. The good that they are not expected to know or understand. What the good? They have been separated twins, their own good. So what is that own good? So that is the most important thing, that sense of their lives, and this thing made him to think this normalcy really necessary for them, that you want to go for good and you think this is normalcy. So whether this normalcy is really necessary for them, I'm talking about these twins, that whether this normalcy what we are thinking about. So anthropology could make a contribution by illuminating the practice of biomedical observations, the gazes that deem the twins' numeral universe unhealthy and thus uninhabitable. So they are really, whenever we are thinking of their good, really we are making them uninhabitable. So anthropology has opportunity to pursue a biological and social cultural approach to autism. Always, I think. Anthropology and the study of mental illness. So in this particular case, which includes intersections of the biomedicine and social science, includes agoraphobia, aphasia, anorexia. So you know, lots of people have known about this term is called anorexia. The people don't want to take food for the obesity. So most of the people who are working as a model have some kind of anorexia. Every time they think of that, I'll get obese and that I cannot perform well in case of modeling. So anorexia, mental retardation, attention deficit hyperactivity, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia. So an anthropological perspective is ontologically, that is nature of reality. What is that nature? So whenever we go for research methodology, so we go for nature of reality. In quantitative research, this nature of reality is really objective. In the qualitative, this nature of reality is subjective. So again, anthropology has a lot of things to do with this kind of neurological, what we said, a disorder or in the autism. So anthropological need in the study of autism. Human mankind has been applicable to the biological human experiences of mind and body since the inception of the anthropological study. So both psychiatric and the parents' memory, autism has been conceived as a loss of a person or a loss of a soul. So that is a most important thing. That is somehow this particular autistic person has lost, abducted, kidnapped, is not result of scientific research, but a particular objectification of the human mind and the idea that the person with autism has been damaged. So whenever there is person born in a family with autistic, whenever the person knows that my child is autistic, So again, this is a problem. Whether I have lost my child, or that has been abducted, kidnapped, that's a kind of damaged child. This is again a point of your mindset. So in the social science, the most important is who display both social ability and the difficulties that are relatively to the social culturally organized expectation of competence and contact. So let's see the autistic people having some kind of spatial abilities. So this area where anthropology is uniquely positioned to make an important contribution to understand the perceptual challenges and cognitive potentialities of those affected by the autism, to consider carefully the impact of autism on the lives of individuals, families, and communities. Now, the anthropology makes contribution to the study of autism in three ways, major three ways that I have found, and I thought it. The individual with autism perceives the world in a different way, which anthropologists seek to understand and embrace to provide new perspective on the world. Recognizing autism in a cultural construct or it in itself, collectively the society has constructed a sense of what is normal and what is not. That I started initiated with this one, and then ethnographic methodology allows to examine the autism is understood and experience in other culture, this is very much important, the world around in the epidemiology. So my this ethnographic method is very much important, because by the ethnographic method one can understand a whole. So epidemiological survey of autism has been extremely useful in establishing baseline of the prevalence of this severe development disorder, providing a relatively unbiased picture of its correlates. So epidemiology of the autism, what we will find, this is now 1 in 1 out of 59. So if you go to the graph, you will find it started in 90. It started at 1 in 166 to 1 in 59. So this is increasing. That's why I said that this era, it is very much important. So spike in autism prevalence may be due to diagnostic changes, lack of consistency in the diagnosis. But one thing is very much important. Studies have also shown the gender difference in the prevalence of autism, that boys are nearly 5 times more likely to be autistic than the girls. So why this is? And then again, the prevalence of autism varies considerably from country to country. Factors yet to be identified to contribute the increased prevalence in the different countries. So sex difference, prevalence of autism. So what are the different possibilities? So the first possibility is evolutionary perspective. This theory has been come up as extreme male brain theory. So I'll surely talk about these things in the different biomarker situation, because biomarker is very much important in case of the autism. How do you identify the autism? So extreme male brain theory. So that is might be the reasons, extreme male brain, that ancient time human used to live in the hunting gathering society in which men fulfill the role of hunter and woman role of the gatherer. So maybe this is a kind of dominance. I do not know really we can say this is dominant, but this might be one of the reasons for more males affected by the autism than the females. So let's see this one. This is very interesting. What I find that in case of male brain, it is systematizing, and while the female brains are empathizing. So this is really happens. So if you come down, you will find that there is a kind of balance between them. So hypermentalism, schizophrenic spectrum, and mentalism and hypomentalism. So autism spectrum. So maternal bias, small deviation, offspring less demanding, lower birth weight, large deviations we get schizophrenia, and if it is paternal bias to the father, so smaller observation, offspring more demanding, higher birth deviation, we say this is autism. And very much interesting, this is called imprints. This imprinting, newer kind of genetics. So this is imprinting. It's maybe a change in the a chromosome structure change or a gene change in the mother can give you a different kind of character, and gene change in the father give you the different kind of character. So these are really amazing that the genetics has come up. So what will be imprinted, the consequence of genomic imprinting must receive 2 haploid genome segments from the parents of the opposite sex. So this is actually depending on the switch off and switch on mode of a particular gene, whether this will switch on in case of mother or switch on in case of father. So we have already good examples in human pathology. In the last in the last slide, 2 such examples in the human pathology are represented by the Prader-Willi syndrome and Angelman syndrome, where Paternal side, if you have a mutation in the 15th chromosome, that will be a Prader-Willi syndrome. And if it is in the maternal side, then it will be an Angelman syndrome. It's not the same. So this is again, this imprinting point is very much important. So brain types. So if it is balanced, then this paternal is mechanistic, maternal is mentalistic. So if it is balanced, fine. So it is going to be balanced. So if it is more mentalistic, then it's a normal female. And if it is a normal male, it's more mechanistic. And if it is autism, then it's a more bigger male. So this genomic imprinting methylations, so this is actually making the human, male brain. So that's why this hypothesis supports the sex ratio in the autism. More males are affected than the females. So in course of studying the autism, I was really interested not only for Haldia Government College, but one of my students is working with autism with me. So I'll tell you what we have done after some time. So of course, that's why from that particular point, I was really interested with the autism. So autism mating, higher prevalence of autism. So whether there is assortative mating has some kind of thing, assortative mating that you are not making it randomized. What is the spike in prevalence of autism may be due to the genetic result of assortative mating the two individuals with higher IQ. Just at this moment, I would like to mention one thing. When I say IQ, intelligent quotient, I really do not believe the intelligent quotient really, but I have written, but I will contradict this one with this higher IQ right now. With this just a few minutes after few minutes are engaging in a strong systemizing work that has a hyper brain activity in which both parents contributing their systematized genotypes. Systematized genotypes means whether it's really integrated with the bilateral symmetry. So if the both parents has a more bilateral symmetry is yielding out the autism child. So whether this bilateral asymmetry is important for us, for the human being. We have bilateral asymmetries, but more people have symmetries. So the people are working on the bilateral symmetries. The good bilateral symmetry, good sportsman, bilateral symmetry, good actor, good actress. So both parents contributing their systematized genotypes. So studies revealed a positive correlation between the higher IQ score of the parents of children with the autism. So again, I was really interested with this one. So the assortative mating leads to genetic interactions as a means of spontaneous mutation. So that is assortative mating, that you are assorting, that you would like to marry, because I'm talking about mating, but in human population, there is no mating, but a kind of marriage first and then go for mating. So marriage has some kind of prescriptions, normatively prescribed systems of the social society. So the assortative mating leads to genetic interactions. And also whether as a mean of natural selection, these genes are responsible for the development of autism, potentially spread in the population because of the direct links with the intelligence. So now the study revealed interesting things that higher intelligence, moderate intelligence alleles, low intelligence alleles. So if it is high intelligence alleles, it's making autism. Low intelligence alleles are making autism. So studies actually revealed this kind of thing, discerned this kind of idea. But now what I said, that whether there is any allele can give you intelligence. So I was really searching out that if there is any gene or any allele can come up with the intelligence. That is, I found an interesting paper on 2016 published. A genome-wide association identifies 74 loci associated with the educational attainment. So I'm not going for the educational attainment, I'm just going for quick learning ability. So some people has a very quick learning ability. Whether I have started, and Dr. Addas said that the autistic children has a quick learning ability. They have strong visual ability. So whether these 74 loci already associated, and if you find this is open access paper, anybody can go with this, and this has been published in the Nature. So I find this has been done an enormous GY study, genome-wide association study, and a big number of population has been taken into consideration, and really it has been found 74 loci associated with the educational attainment. Now, prevalence of autism spectrum disorder, more prevalence in the developed nations. So there may be the reasons like culture, beliefs, and the practices in the developed nations can be considered as one of the reasons, or that might be else. due to the misidentification of autism in other regions as a mean of their culture that I have already mentioned in Korea, in India, in Africa, in South Africa. So there are misclassification or misidentifications if there is autism. So nobody is going to understand this is autism. Factors suppose a possible link of higher hyperprevalence of autism in developing nations. So what are the factors? Developing nations due to propensity of cleanliness doing harm for the depleting the body's natural biome. That has already been taken into account by Dr. Ardo in by and large. So what we call good bacteria, so microbiome. So one subject has already been developed, and we have worked somehow rather in anthropology of microbiome, because this is related to the diets, and diet has a cross-cultural differences. So microbiome must have some kind of cross-cultural differences. And
Sir, we
another
are running
cultural
late.
norms, Doctor. Okay, so I'm just going. I'm sorry. So how much time I will get, Somi, right
Sir,
now from there?
can you sum up in 5 minutes?
Okay, 5 minutes. I'm going very fast with this one. Cultural norm is reduced exposure in the vitamin D, and I'm just skipping this one because it has already been taken account by Dr. Addo with some kind of artificial ingredients that is the food which is already been prepared. So we have diagnosis, prognosis. So prognosis is identification, future prediction. So diagnosis of the autism. So we need to go for the biomarkers. So some people always try to understand about the biomarkers. So the biomarkers actually provide few of the biological marker. So there are some kind of surrogate endpoints and the clinical endpoints. Now, the biomarker needs validity. So unfortunately, validity is not typically black and white. You cannot say this is the valid and this is invalid, but instead of a spectrum. So we try to understand of this biomarker of the autism with this spectrum. So these are the biomarkers: behavioral, genetic, neuroimaging, imaging, and metabolic, already mentioned by Dr. Ardo, medical history, immune and physical features, 2D, 4D ratio, and we have taken up with this particular thing with the autism, whether we can take the biomarker as a dermatoglyphics. Why dermatoglyphics? Because this is a age unaltered, I mean post or natally unaltered thing, and less subject to environmental influences. And 2D, 4D ratio, this is also very much important. First, the Dr. Glenn Wilson has gone to first hypothesize with the fingers to feminism, the rise of 2D, 4D ratio. And association study comes up with the dermatoglyphics because the brain developed from the same ectoderm. Dermatoglyphic variation are formatively for early development of the brain disturbance. So extensive study found that trisomy 21 Down syndrome has some kind of relationship with the dermatoglyphics, where Cummings has identified Down syndrome at least 2 decades back in the chromosomal identification, and also coming up to a lot of characters like E beta thalassemia. So one of my students, Piali Das, has done PhD on that, is study on dermatoglyphic trait in Bengali Hindu population on the E beta thalassemia. So another thing is important in case of autism is association study with the 2D, 4D ratios. So male cognitive profile, that is maleness and femaleness with this 2D, 4D ratio. So some publications, so Vishwarup is right now is working with me with some publications in the dermatoglyphics. So we'd like to go for whether these can be used as a biomarker. So there are some autism and dermatoglyphics. We have published some papers. So I'm going very fast with this one, what we got. So these are the qualitative and quantitative measurements of the Palmer dermatoglyphics. So these are the statistical analysis of the data. I'll just go for the graphs very fast. So C-like terminations, polymorphism, and transformer distance. So what we find that there is definitely some association of the palmar axial triradius and the autism, where we get the significant excess of double axial triradius among the autistic patients, and also association of the ATD angle. So we always get significantly higher ATD angle in comparison to the control, or both for the males and the both hands also. An association of the transformer distance, what we got that significantly shorter transformer distance has been noticed in the autistic patient. And also when we go for C-line polymorphism and autism, so all things I'm talking about the dermatoglyphic palm print, because it is very difficult. Dr. Ardo already said about numbness of the finger. We cannot take the finger prints of the autistic patient, so we have to restrict ourselves on the Palmer point. So the Palmer mainline C index, what we find higher frequency of the absent and abortive mainline C in case of the dermatoglyphics. and also quantitative and qualitative. So AB reach count and the CD reach count, we also get some kind of significant difference in the AB and CD reach count in case of autistic patients of the Bengali population. And finally, association of the digit ratio and autism, what we find in autistic patients, what we get significantly lower value for autistic patient indicating high androgen level. Now, this high androgen level is very much important right now in case of the autistic, because if it is there is high androgen level, so there is a particular gene is known as TMPRSS2, which is related with the androgen. So whether autistic patients have high this kind of gene, whether they are much more high susceptibility to the COVID. This is again this stimulations that whether they are high susceptibility to COVID. So there is no single cause or curative treatment for the autism spectrum disorder, but early intense behavior treatment can significantly improve the long-term development outcomes. So early diagnosis of autism using biomarker may lead to improvement education behavior outcomes, a reduction in comorbid psychiatric symptoms, a decrease in emotional and financial stresses created by autism spectrum disorder individual and their family. Finally, I would like to go for anthropological perspective might play a role in the paradigm shift of diagnostic practice, a turnover, more objectively derived diagnosis using the dimensional approach of ethnographic study and the biomarker stating. So concluding remarks, so this is emerging biomarkers in autism. So there are lots of biomarkers that this paper is also open access. One can go with this open access paper, but still, if you go through this particular biomarkers are so much costly. But if you think about the dermatoglyphics seems to be interesting and imperative biomarkers because of its simple techniques, huge scope of qualitative and quantitative biology and anthropological study, nevertheless very economizing. So very low cost that you can use this biomarkers. So thank you so much. You have given me the time. So we embrace the neurodiversity. More social connection makes a better brain. So all the feedbacks, if anybody has any kinds of questions, if it is not permitted in this time, so the feedback one can give to me at aurup_cu@redditmail.com. Thank you so much giving me this platform, Shomi, for all. So I'm telling you, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. It is indeed a wonderful presentation, and I am sure many of the participants became enriched with your excellent deliberation. So now I request Dr. Bhuvan Mohan Das to take up the question answer session, and please take only 2 to 3 questions.
Okay, thank you, Somi. Thank you, sir, for your excellent presentation as well as interpretation in relation to anthropology. Being a student or scholar of the discipline, I really enjoyed the session along with other participants. Sir, again, the chat box is flooding with congratulatory messages like very informative sessions, wonderful sessions, insightful presentations, marvelous lecture, excellent presentations, enlightening as usual by our Professor Bandyopadhyay sir. And there are also so many questions, but due to paucity of time, I only would like to read out 2 to 3 questions for your perusal, sir, if you permit me. Sir. Sir.
Oh, sure. That is your
Okay.
time. Bhuvan, that is
Okay.
your time. That if you
Okay,
permit,
sir,
if your time permits, I'm very much
I
happy.
think 2 questions, at least 2 questions, we can border with the time. First question from one of our 6th semester students: if autism is genetical, then identical twins both are always autistic, or only one autistic, or other baby is normal?
Okay, most probably if it is a identical twin, I'm talking about the MZ twins. So chance of autism for the both is much more than a dizygotic twin. So it's a probability question. So definitely is much more because they are sharing the same intrauterine environment, sharing the same genetic state at the time. So most probably.
Okay. Then the next question from Onshua Chatterjee: if we admit autistic child to normal school, or her to be more adapted?
It's echoing. Bhuvan, it's echoing.
Yeah, there is something issues. Some of the participants.
Yes. Now it's all right. Now it's all right.
Okay.
Now it's all right.
It's from Onshua Chatterjee. Sir, if we admit an autistic child to normal school, will it help him or her to be more adaptable?
No, 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 not at all, not at all, because he is not the normal, it's Abby, I said that slow child and other kind of thing. So he or she will be bullied. So that is the most important point to diagnose or prognose a child who is at autistic. Maybe he is much more ahead than his normal schoolmates, much more ahead, because I visual ability, so gentle, so naive. So I feel that it should have to go for the autistic school. There are lots of autistic management schools and other, they are very competent over there. I feel they can manage and they can learn a lot of things. I'm telling you that they are really amazing in a lot of things.
Okay, thank you, sir. And,
yes, go on.
And the last and final question from Kostov Ghosh Roy. When, again, Gautam sir, please.
When?
Okay.
Yes,
when of the attributes of autism, how can we draw the parallel between cognitive anthropological methodologies and the social construct approach of medical anthropology?
Now, this is really an important thing. A very good question, Bhuvan, I'm telling you. Because medical anthropology is never be a subject matter of biological anthropology. It was always going social anthropology. So I feel the most important approach to, firstly, to go to the autism that I have already stated is ethnography, right? So this is the most important thing. Try to understand their insider's view, autistic insider's view, and try to relate with who we are claiming we are not autistic. So that is the most important thing. Medical anthropology is something different and which is cannot be related with the biomedical. So this is really a different kind of thing. If it is important, one day I can talk to the students anytime. So what is the difference that we can say about the medical anthropology and the biomedical? There are methodological differences. Maybe the results comes up very close, but there are methodological differences.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your
anything else?
Explanation. Note that I think we are running so late that we have to close our
yes. Session. I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed.
Now, the virtual,
the whole thing I enjoyed.
Hello, sir. Bhuvan sir. Hello.
Sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. No, we are running late, so.
Okay. Again, it's echoing. Somebody has not muted the mic. Yes, now you can tell. Sobi, yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Now I request Bhuvan Mohan Das to end up the session and vote of thanks for to end up the session. We are running really very, very late. So.
Okay, thank you once again, Sobi. Respect all and our most distinguished speakers, our officer in charge, IQAC coordinator, other teachers, guests, and my dear participants. I deem it a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who helped us in making this international webinar such a resounding success. First of all, I would like to propose my hearty vote of thanks to our resource person from New York University Medical School, Professor Dr. Haldia, for teaching today's webinar. Thank you, sir, for your very interesting and thought-provoking speech. Then, I would like to convey our profound gratefulness to our teacher, Professor Dr. Arup Bandyopadhyay, sir, Department of Anthropology, University of Calcutta, for making excellent presentations and making this webinar interesting and meaningful in the perspective of anthropology. Then I would like to express our deep gratitude to our officer in charge, Haldia Government College, Dr. Tripathi, for his presence and constant support in this webinar. I would also like to thank our beloved IQAC coordinator, Dr. Dipankar Sadhuka, for his moral support and guidance. We are thankful to Dr. Debolina Das, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, Dr. Tanmoy Maiti, Assistant Professor, Department of Statistics, Haldia Government College, and Mr. Sobhar, Research Scholar, for their excellent work as technical supervisor. Without their support, this webinar never been executed. Last but not the least, I am happy to express vote of thanks to our participants from different parts of India as well as abroad, and the organizing committee members, especially the convener, and all other departmental faculty members who have made this webinar a grand success. Thank you all. Thank you, Soumi.
Thank you, sir, and thank you all.
Thank you. Show me I'm privileged. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
So may
I'm
I
ending
leave
up-
now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm ending up this seminar. Thank you all.